Do all dogs go to heaven? So, it's a complex question because the answers are a bit obscure. I don't think many people have talked about animal souls in that kind of way. We know about human souls, and that human souls are very purposeful. We were breathed in by the life of the Creator, so our souls are a reflection of the Creator of the universe. Our souls are very special. We can sin, whereas animals cannot sin. Even though animals commit sinful atrocities left and right, that is just a part of their nature. Many people would like to attribute some of the bad things that we do as humans to just being a part of our nature, but if you look deeper, you see that we have a much larger purpose. Which I'm not going to get into in this audio. Maybe I'll get into it, I don't know. I'm just kind of freely talking here. But do all dogs go to heaven? They say that sometimes a human soul is reincarnated as a different object in order to fulfill a purpose in the life of that soul. So the soul lives forever in this body, maybe about 72 to 83 years, hopefully. Or hopefully longer than that, 100 years, that'd be great. But that's just a drop in the bucket compared to the life of a soul. Now, ideally, we would just inhabit human bodies until we reach heaven. Until we've done all that we are supposed to do in the life of our soul. And we join God in the oneness of it all. That's what I call heaven, by the way, the oneness of it all. Because that just makes the most sense. You join God's kingdom. Does that mean a castle in the sky? Or some pearly gates? You know, a bunch of angels flying around? It's probably not a bad way to think of it as far as thinking of it as a metaphor. You might be able to attribute certain attributes to some abstract things. Abstract concepts like angels flying around. Yeah, I bet there are, but maybe not in the way that you think. But no, God's kingdom is what God created. You're in it right now. You're just playing a role in it, in a way. So, life was designed as like a ballpoint pen. The pen is designed for the ball and the ink. But does the ball see anything more than the ink that's coming towards it? No, the ball just rolls. The ball rolls and it writes. It's floating, disconnected from the rest of the pen. I think so too our lives are. But without the ball, then there would be no need for the pen. Might as well throw it away. So the smallest part of the pen is the most significant because without it, the pen would be useless. There would be no point in it. There would be no purpose in it. And without it, therefore, it would not exist. You would not create the pen without the ball. Without the ball, you'd not create the pen. And that is the physical 3D reality that we live in. I think it could potentially be something greater. You might look at the pen in like a 4-dimensional, existence. Or greater than that. As if there are pens on all sides of the roller ball. That's That's the magnitude of the world that we do not accompany, do not occupy, do not understand in comparison to the small ball in the center. So we are put here to do a purpose, and that is to write. That is to do, that is to build. That is to fulfill our masterpiece. That being the life of the soul's journey, which extends beyond what we can expect, beyond our lives. But then we join the all of it, the one of it all, the pen, or the amalgamation of pens that makes up the 5D pen sphere, or whatever you want to call it, or something greater even beyond that. I think then we become instrumental in the lives of creation in a different kind of way. Rather than being physically here, we are now outside of here, but pointing in. In other words, let's say you're a grandfather. You pass away at a good old age. You got many grandchildren who all need guidance. They're all seeking guidance. And so when you pass away, you say, all right, I'm going to go check up on them. I'm going to go see if I can guide them in their lives. That's what I mean. Like, as an outside perspective, you are still attached to this world, but not in it. Now, I don't know where I want to go from here. I could throw in some extra points. It would also be beyond the realm of time and space. So maybe we get an opportunity to do so, right? To interact with the world and to help it and grow it throughout all time. But to us, it's just a moment. And then our souls continue our journey. Or whatever else. Like, we do not know what comes next. We can only ascribe to things that are, to phenomenon that can be observed. And even then, they're theories, and they're fringe theories at that, highly improvable. Where else does the soul go? The soul can go to Gehenom. In most cases, it goes to Gehenom, which is what Christians call hell. But it's not like hell was designed for no reason other than to burn people who are not Christian. That's a silly rhetoric. Hell was designed for a specific purpose, to be a part of a system, to be a part of an engine that does a job. And that job is to clean the soul of the worldly possession. Right? You come down here into the body and you do a bunch of sins. And before you leave, you never really work on them. You never really observe what you needed to observe, that you were wrong. Maybe you were in a constant state of denial. I never did anything wrong. I never did anything wrong. You hear people like this all the time. They're 40, 50 years old. They clearly did something terrible, and yet they deny it, they deny it, they deny it. So their entire lives, they go denying that they did anything wrong, or denying the truth of whatever matter that they were supposed to complete while they were here on earth, right? They had a task, they had a duty in the life of their soul, and they did not complete it because they refused to see what they were supposed to see on this earth, in this life. And it was not impossible for them to see. They just chose not to. They chose ignorancy, you know. So then they have to go to Gehenom to see. The soul is not going to go up into everything or into heaven, into the waiting grounds of going into another body to fulfill another purpose, without seeing what they were supposed to fulfill and what they did not fulfill and what they were supposed to see, but they chose not to see. They will have to reconcile with those things. But I think an important thing to note is that it's not like the soul gains new sight, that's for sure, when it goes from this world and this earthly body to a higher dimension or a higher realm or a different realm. Not to say that any realm is higher than earth. You could actually maybe say that earth is the highest realm because it has the highest purpose, like we've explored with the pen analogy. But I digress. The soul goes to a new place, it sees new things. But it is still you, in a sense. It still has your thoughts, your feelings, your senses. You still see, hear, touch, taste, smell. All of that, because that is what that is how your mind and your body were attuned. Not to say that you could not experience different levels of feeling, like a sixth sense or a seventh sense or whatever. It would just be that in order to do so, one would have to break their human bond, which is the expectation that these are the five senses. Once again, rambling. So a person goes into Gehenom with their preconceived notions, with their preconceived level of ability as far as sight is concerned, with everything. Right? Because the mind and the body, though separate, are very much one and the same. Many people would say that they feel like they are their body while they're here on earth. I know I'm getting sidetracked again, but I think it's important. Maybe not in the sense of this conversation, but in general. It's interesting, is it not? The mind and the body feel like they are one. But I tell you that they are not. Actually, I misspoke. The mind and the body are one. The soul or the self is different than the mind and the body. Who you really are is not the body that you have been put into. Is not the mind that does many mechanics of your thinking. Your thinking is actually outside of the body, or it is a separate thing. And I'm not going to go into how I know that, but take my word for it. The soul is a separate entity. The self is a separate entity, yet it seemingly, for many people, is the same. So when you go into Gehenna, when you go into hell, it's going to be very similar of an experience. But now you have to break your previous thinking in order to get beyond Gehenom. How do you imagine that will happen? Well, you can see now. But maybe now you can see in 4 dimensions, beyond the constraints of space and time. When you hurt that person, maybe you can see how that contributed to hurting another person. As if you were viewing a movie. From multiple angles, you get to see the action of you hurting the person. You get to see their thinking and their thoughts. Now, all of a sudden, you are able to see somebody else's perspective because you are outside of your own. and because it is being shown to you, given the purpose of the place that you are in. Gehenom. The washing machine of the soul. But you see their perspective and how they were hurt and how it made them feel. Now you feel how they felt, and it hurts. And you see how they hurt somebody else because of how you made them feel. And you see the spiral. And all the times that you made somebody feel terrible, you're going to see their perspective on it until it freaking clicks, until it gets into your head that what you did was wrong, and you say, I repent of what I did. And Gehenom says, good. You've made it past the first level. You're like, what? I've been here for 5 months, dude. I've been here for so long, it feels. I've done so much, and yet I'm not done. No. Next level. Bring them in. And that is why those who have come back from the dead, or those who write in scriptures, they explain that it feels like being burned alive. Because the weight of what one is seeing from an emotional standpoint is so great, and it hurts so much to see what they refuse to look at their entire lives, that it feels like it's burning. You know what they say about the other levels? They say it feels like you're getting cut into pieces. Maybe mauled by dogs or by animals. I mean, they don't say good things about how it feels to be in Gehenom. But it is a finite process. At some point, the buzzer buzzes and says, we're done with the cycle. The soul is clean. It has a purpose. It must do what it must do. We did not fulfill our jobs on earth. And so, we had it coming. And Gehenom is pretty much waiting for us all. But it is not something to be so afraid of. I don't want to hurt. Come on. If you don't want to hurt, then you're in for it. You gotta hurt. You gotta endure. You got to deal with painful things. That's life. If you don't choose to do it here on earth, then you must endure a lot of it in order to cleanse the soul. We are given a great opportunity on earth to do that here, to where it doesn't hurt as bad. It still hurts. It doesn't hurt as bad. Okay. Do all dogs go to heaven? Is the question. We've touched a little bit on how the soul can sometimes manifest into a dog. But I think that the soul is made up of multiple parts. You ever have an evil thought or a judgmental thought? I attribute those things to demons that live within us. And they influence us by being thoughts that pop up in our heads. To me, this is evidence that there are multiple parts to our soul. Or there are things at the very least, there are things that are tagging along to the essence of our soul. So that's an interesting concept. Things tag along to us. Well, another thing that we've mentioned that tags along potentially is a dead person who wants to help guide us. They're tagged along. What else? Maybe a clean and contrite spirit. God put a clean heart within me. I can't quote the actual verse in Psalms, but off the top of my head, put a spirit in me that is clean. Take out a negative spirit. These are interesting things. So maybe a dog, if it does not have a human spirit, or even if it does, maybe it stays attached to your spirit after you die. So wherever you're going, it's going to go. Or maybe It hangs out, waiting for you in the waiting room as you go through Gehenom. And then when you get out and you go about to go into another body, now it is a part of your soul. Maybe. Or maybe in this life you were given a purpose to take care of a dog. It has a purpose for its soul's journey. And you have a purpose in fulfilling its soul's journey. It was a good human. It wasn't Jewish. It was a Jewish boy. He grew up in yeshiva. He learned all this stuff and then said, I don't want to be, I don't know about all this tradition, all this religion. I mean, I believe in it. I've seen some miracles happen with my own two eyes. When the holidays come, I feel different. I feel just as they say I should feel. Like God is truly there, performing what God does. Yet I just don't want to do it. I don't want to have all this responsibility. I don't want to... And he denies God to his very death. And so God puts his soul into a dog. In the house of a goyim. Who is converting to Judaism. To see that perspective. Here's a perspective you've never seen your entire life. The opposite side. Why would somebody who is not Jewish want to become Jewish? Desire with his whole entire heart to become Jewish? Now, you are not a bad guy, and so you will be treated well by this goyim. It's punishment enough that you're a dog. You're going to live the best life. You're going to travel the world. And to be quite frank, you just have one more thing that you need to see. You just need to see this other perspective. You were not unrighteous as a Jew. You were missing something. You were missing a piece. Why would somebody choose God? You were forced into the religion. You were this, that, and the other. You didn't feel like you had a choice. And then you get to see this person who is choosing, more than everything else in the world, that choice that you refused to choose. And to him, it would have been a blessing to be in your circumstance. He would have been so grateful to be in your situation. So you came back as a dog. Will you stay with that owner forever? When your soul realizes itself? No. Your soul's got its own journey. Once again, maybe that soul is split in pieces, and a part of that soul will stick with the man, the goyim who's trying to become a Jew. Part of that dog will stick with him and guide him, but the part that is the former Jew, or the now dog, but Jew, it goes to heaven. It goes elsewhere. It says, thank you for the wonderful journey that you gave me, my master. I appreciate you. Shalom. Peace be with you. And departs. So these things are very complicated. That's all I got to say about that. I don't know why we needed 23 minutes for me just to say things are complicated, but hopefully it gave you a little bit of insight into, at the very least, my thinking and why I think the way that I think. And maybe it gave you some peace of mind to know that, everything's in God's hands, and he has a greater plan that outweighs anything that we could expect or want. It's better than what we'd want for ourselves. And it has great purpose behind it. So, have faith. All right.